I am here to give my final picks and predictions for this Saturday's card. UFC Paris going down. We have Moicano versus Saint-Denis in the main event, and then the co-main event is also a very, very exciting fight. But we are coming off the last card we had was UFC 306 at Las Vegas at the Sphere. Um, I got absolutely killed. My picks did not do great that night, so I'm looking to bounce back in a big way with my picks for UFC Paris going down this Saturday. We have 14 fights to get through, so let's get into it right now. I think this is the best card that the UFC has put together for Paris. Yes, we are missing a bigger name. Probably the biggest name coming out of Paris is Cyril Gane, not on the card, but I think the matchups and the main and the co-main are made to be very, very exciting fights. And with those two main fights at the top of the card, having a lot of importance and you know importance in their rifle division. So let's get into this card. UFC Vegas going down this Saturday, or UFC Paris going down this Saturday. Sorry. First fight we have Balaji Oki versus Chris Duncan. So Oki, known for his striking, great power in his hands. Um, he also does good fighting backwards as well, striking back off his back foot, going backwards. So a good counter striker as well. Chris Duncan, I feel like is getting better with each fight. Um, I feel like he he is a good striker, but he's also known for being chinned. In his debut, he got chinned in his Dana White Contender Series before he got to the UFC fight. He got chinned as well, but he also won those fights. So he's also proving that he can come back from adversity early and gutting out these wins and finishing them as well. So yes, you can take it two different ways. You can take it as his chin's terrible, yes, which is also a fact. But you can also take it as he has heart, he has grit, and he has battled adversity early in his UFC career. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword, I would say, but you can take that however you want it. I kind of look at it as more of a positive than a negative, as he is still finding a way to get um, these wins, even though he's battling adversity early. Chris Duncan, he is coming off a loss to Manuel Torres, who just fought at UFC 306. Um, but in that fight with Torres, he did rock Torres early, and then Chris Duncan decided to shoot for a takedown and self scrambling, and he got caught in a submission. So yeah, it looks like Chris Duncan does struggle with the jujitsu side of things when he does get to the ground, but just pure wrestling and just pure, you know, ground and pound, getting into better positions. Um, he still may struggle with that, but I think just wrestling itself, I think he has that edge clearly in this fight. I don't know what Oki looks like when he does want to defend takedowns. I don't know if he has fought a good uh, level of wrestling yet in his pro career. But Chris Duncan, he has trained with Grant Dawson at ATT, American Top Team. He's getting the looks. He has trained in the room with some great people. Um, I feel like he has that wrestling pedigree in that back pocket that he can use in this fight, and maybe it could be something to where he drains that cardio tank of Oki using the wrestling. Even though if he's not successfully getting the takedowns, he's still making Oki work. And I don't know, man. Like I think Chris Duncan has underrated kicks, but punching, yeah, when it throws hands and strikes, Chris Duncan can be chinned. But I'm going to take the underdog here. I'm going to take a shot on Chris Duncan here. I think he's underrated, and I get that people are high on Balaji Oki here and the striking and the power in the hands. But I just think Oki is still a bit green. Like, yes, he may just have just raw power to get Duncan out of here, but mm, I think Chris Duncan overall has the better all overall MMA skill set and I think Chris Duncan goes to that wrestling and kind of makes Oki work, and I think kind of grinds out Balaji Oki, and I'm going to take Chris Duncan by decision here. So give me the underdog with the first fight of the night or first fight of the morning because for me on the West Coast in the United States, the card's going to start at 9 a.m. and then the main card starts at 12. So, anyways, next fight we have at the women's bantamweight division, we have Nora Canole versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. So this is a rematch. These ladies fought about 3 years ago, and this is the only fight that Cornell has on her pro career. She lost to Cavalcanti by decision in their first fight. But so Cornell, she got knocked down in their first fight in like 20 seconds into the fight. Cavalcanti caught her. Cornell survived, but I think Cornell just had a hard time just finding distance and finding Cavalcanti like clearly just finding her chin. Um, like Nora has gotten better. She has put together an 8 fight win streak since losing her first fight to Cavalcanti, but I'm still seeing some bad habits, I'd say. Um, Cornell has I think she's gonna have the power advantage in this fight. She has good pressure. She fights going forward. She can make things a brawl, and I think she thrives in a brawl. Um, but she throws wide and she throws kicks, and when she throws kicks to like the leg, she does drop her hands and like leaves her chin exposed. And I think fighting a really sophisticated, clean kickboxer like Jacqueline Cavalcanti here, dropping your hands when you kick is the perfect counter strike for Cavalcanti to kind of like capitalize on. So people are really high on the underdog here with Nora Cornell. I think Cornell lost her first fight in the UFC when they did UFC Paris like a year ago or something to Edwards, um, or Jocelyn Edwards, and then she's coming off a finish against Mullins, and but it's Melissa Mullins. Like I don't know. Um, so people are really high on the underdog here with Nora Canole, but I'm going to go with Jacqueline Cavalcanti to continue to use her footwork, to use every inch of this octagon, to use her footwork, shuffle sideways. Um, Nora Cano's going to push forward, and Cavalcanti is going to um, stand and trade a bit in the pocket, but she will let Nora Cano come forward, and then she's going to pivot off to the side and stick and move, and she fights well at her pace. But Nora Cano is going to have to work hard to break that rhythm of Cavalcanti. I don't know if Nora Cano can just get into that kind of fight to where she knocks out Cavalcanti because I think that's what it's going to take. Um, I don't know, like Cavalcanti in her last fight with Josiana Nunez, like yeah, she ate shots, and I think her chin held up great in that fight. Um, Cornell has power, a little bit of power. She's gonna have the power out of these two, yes, but I don't know if it's enough to shake the confidence of a Cavalcanti. I'm gonna go with Jacqueline Cavalcanti here to get the short notice. And when I say short notice, this fight was announced 2 weeks ago. Cavalcanti stepped in on short notice. She fought a month ago. Now with a short turnaround, I think she sees the opportunity here to kind of derail kind of a bit of a hype train in the women's bantamweight division here with Nora Cornell. And the UFC doing Cornell justice here and putting her in front of her fans in Paris. Um, I'm gonna take Portugal, man. I'm gonna take the clean striker of Cavalcanti to win by decision. I do think there's value here on Nora Cornell because you never know, and we saw with Cornell beating Jocelyn Edwards in her UFC debut. the judges in Paris kind of took the side of Nora Knoll on that decision. So you never know. There might be some value here with the underdog here at plus 175 that I'm seeing on ESPN. So you never know, man. But I think just skill wise, I think there is um, some value here on the dog. Next fight in the men's flyweight division, we have Daniel Barres versus Victor Altamirano. So Daniel Barres is coming off a loss in his UFC debut in his last fight. He actually rocked Filho, um, knocked him down with body shots. I think he knocked him down like twice, and the referee didn't stop it. I think if Daniel Barres really wanted to get Filho out of there, he could have probably, but he damaged the body, and then he got taken down and then submitted. Filho won that fight in the first round. So it's a very, very kind of upsetting UFC debut because I feel like Daniel Barres had that fight, but just didn't capitalize on the hurt Filho. But Victor Altamirano, he's okay on the feet. I feel like he has a very awkward fighting style, a little bit, um, very awkward striker. Does have the takedown offense, can wrestle. Um, but I don't know. I feel like Daniel Barres might be too much on the feet when it comes to striking in this fight. I don't think he is going to punch Victor Altamirano in the head or in the face to get Victor out of here and win by TKO. But I think Daniel Barres going back to the body and doing body work on Victor Altamirano may be the path to victory here, the best path to victory. Hurting the body of Victor Altamirano early in this fight may open up things for him to go upstairs and do work on the head. Um, I don't know. I'm just not high on Victor and his wrestling in this fight. But again, I don't know what Daniel Barres looks like. If we saw him getting taken down in his last fight, so that could be a thing here where Victor uses that wrestling just to get this fight to the ground, and Barres is fighting off his back. I would hope that Barres has been training these takedown defense, but so on the feed, clearly it's Barres, but on if Victor decides to go that wrestling route, Barres could just be, I don't know, fighting an uphill battle. But I'm going to take the slight underdog here, plus 105. So it could be a pick 'em by fight day, but I'm going to go Daniel Barres to the slight underdog to get the win here. I think the striking is just way too nice, and hopefully he has been working on that takedown defense. The next fight in the women's bantamweight division, we have Eileen Perez versus Dara Zelen Zelenikova. Um, so I thought Dara in her last fight in UFC debut, I thought she lost to Rendon. Uh, I think that fight was a lot closer, than what it was. But Dara didn't really do much to impress me, and I've been looking for ways to fade Eileen Perez. I think Eileen Perez is okay. I'm not too big of a fan of hers, but she's been getting these matchups to where she's looking like she's flourishing in these, and she's showing out in in these fights. She's getting the right looks, and the UFC's helping her out a bit, I think. But I'm waiting for the day to fade Eileen Perez. But I think Perez here, being the shorter fighter, I think it kind of works into her advantage that she can look for those takedowns and grab the long legs and the long limbs of Dara here. Um, and I think Eileen Perez, when she does gets the fight to the ground, and she is the fighter on top, she is really really strong on in the top position. So she's really really tough to get out of there, and it's hard for her opponents to get work their way up to their feet. So I'm gonna go Perez to win by um I call submission. I feel like a submission. No, maybe I'll save my submission takes for some fights later on. But I'm gonna go decision here. I'm gonna go Eileen Perez by decision. I think she's just gonna outdog and outwork Dara here. I think this is just kind of an easy fight to call for me. Yes, Dara is gonna be the taller fighter. She might have the small reach advantage here, but I think the pressure of Perez is just going to take away that reach advantage, and the wrestling is just too much, man. Next fight we have in the men's bantamweight division, we have Taylor Lapilus versus Vince Morales, and Vince Morales is actually coming back to the UFC for this fight. Um, I think this is like his second run, maybe, or I'm thinking about Roosevelt here. But Vince Morales coming back to the UFC. He has some fights off in the regional scene, and then now he's coming back to fight Taylor Lapilus here. I think what could present Lapilus some problems here, because Lapilus is going to be my winner in my pick here, but Vince Morales, uh, known for his wrestling and the boxing and the stand up to set up the wrestling takedowns. For the hands are okay, but he does pressure well, and I think he's just going to use his hands and his boxing to close distance and just shoot for some takedowns. The wrestling is his strong suit. Um, Taylor Lapilus, like. I don't know where how to feel about Taylor Lapilus. Like, I feel like he is the more efficient fighter here. Kind of bit everywhere in this fight. I feel like, um, can he defend those takedowns? We will see. I think he can defend some. I don't know about all, but I think he on the feet. I think Morales is going to struggle with Taylor Lapilus. But again, Taylor Lapilus, sometimes he just kind of finds a lull in these fights, and he kind of just drops rounds and loses minutes without not doing much. I think for Vince Morales could just be the more active fighter here. So I do kind of see some value here on the underdog. I'm not saying I'm like totally bought into what Vince Morales is doing, but I think there is some value here for Vince Morales, who was a plus 290. Because again, Taylor Lapis could just not do much, and Vince Morales getting his second win in the UFC, getting his second chance, could just come out here and just outvalue him and outpoint Taylor Lapis. Um, I'm not going to talk myself into taking the underdog here, but give me Lapis. I just feel comfortable taking Taylor Lapis in this fight, but I think there's some. I don't know. Maybe I look at the over. Maybe never mind. Minus 380 for the over 2.5. Uh, I'm good. But give me Taylor Lapis to win by decision. I think that fight's going to be kind of not a boring one, but a slower pace fight. I could see that fight being a little slower. But this fight up next in the lightweight division, we have Ludovic Klein versus Roosevelt Roberts. I think Ludovic Klein is going to school Roosevelt Roberts. This is the second time that Roosevelt Roberts has been brought back to the UFC. He was he did come back for that season for the Ultimate Fighter. Didn't win. He lost to Austin Hubbard. But Ludovic Klein, I'm really high on. I think Ludovic Klein could is like a top 20 easily in this division. He has the skill. He's a strong. You see the frame on Ludovic Klein. You see the body. Like, this man, he's strong. He does everything strong. He is a strong with his takedowns, getting fights to the ground, a strong striker. And I think he's just a bit cleaner than Roosevelt Roberts, kind of bit everywhere. Um, and just where Roosevelt Roberts is at mentally and what he's been through throughout his career, I just can't trust it, bro. Like, I can't get behind Roosevelt Roberts. And I was cheering on for Roberts, like in 2018, 2019. I was cheering for Roberts in his career, but I just got to go with the person who has shown me kind of having the better moments in their career with Ludovic Klein. Um, and I've had some. some good times and picking Ludovic Klein. Like I picked Ludovic Klein against Baja Mondes, and that's probably one of my favorite bets I've ever hit. So I'm gonna go with Klein again. Again, I think Klein is better everywhere in this fight. Next up, we have at the UFC light heavyweight division, Umar Sy versus Don Woo Jung. So Don Woo Jung, he I feel like he's a very well-rounded fighter. No, okay, now I'm thinking about someone else. So Don Woo Jung has good striking. I feel like he had a good win streak before he got to the UFC, and now he's been on a losing streak in his last few fights here. But with Umar Sy, I think Umar Sy is just going to have his way with Dawu Zhang. Um, I think Umar Sy could be that young prospect coming up in the UFC 205 division. And I think this division that is slowly dying violently. UFC 20 not UFC, the light heavyweight division is just kind of look probably the ugliest division that is in the UFC right now. Um, Very top heavy, but I think Umar Sy could be the that glimpse of hope of like having that prospect come up in the rankings or from the unranked to the ranked. But Umar Sy he's an all around good fighter. He has the a long reach, but he also has this ground game, and I think this is where he wins this fight with Dawu Zhang. I don't think Dawu Zhang can stop the takedowns. I think Sai takes advantage of that, and I think he gets this fight to the ground. I think Sai wins by submission here. Um, Again, nothing against Dawu Zhang, but I haven't seen enough good things from Dawu Zhang that sways me even a little bit in this fight. So give me Umar Sy to win by submission here. And the UFC 205 light heavyweight division has a prospect, and I think it's a promising fighter here with Umar Sy. Um, Next fight we have the featured prelim. We have Ian Kutalaba versus Ivan Erslan. So with Ian Kutalaba, where he with how Kutalaba's career has turned out so far, I just cannot get behind just how inconsistent Kutalaba is. Um, I feel like let's see. So he had a in his last one, two, three, four, five. In his last five, he is 1-4. And in that one fight that he did win, he knocked out Tanner Boser. I don't hold that in any kind of uh like it's Tanner Boser. Like you should be doing that to Tanner Boser. But dropping fights and losing to Felipe Lins, getting submitted by Johnny Walker, Ryan Spann, like you're getting submitted by Ryan Spann, and like I don't mean it to take anything away from these fighters, but I feel like Kutalaba has had high highs and just terrible lows in his career, and the inconsistency of his career and his skill set, his IQ, is just something that I can't get behind anymore. And then with Urslan, with this being his UFC debut, and just the tape that I've watched on Urslan, like he looks like a very patient kickboxer. But I hope that Urslan won't let Kutalaba get comfortable and let Kutalaba dictate the pace of this fight. I think Urslan needs to come out really fast and just make Kutalaba respect your skill set. Um, but something that Kutalaba does have that I think Urslan could struggle with is the wrestling. Like we've seen Ion Kutalaba use the wrestling very in recent fights. I feel like, and he's very successful with it. But I just again I don't know the IQ is just a question mark for me with Kutalaba. So I'm gonna take Ivan Urslan to win by knockout because Kutalaba can get chinned. He's been knocked down. Again, he's been submitted. and but I just think this fight's not going to go to the ground unless Ian Cutelaba wants it to go to the ground. And I don't know, man. If Cutelaba uses that wrestling, this is Kutalaba's fight to win or a fight to lose. But if this fight stays on the feet, I think Ivan Urslan is just going to knock his head off. So again, I don't know. This may be a kind of fight day decision here on the winner. But as of right now, for this video, I'm leaning Ivan Urslan just for the sake of the video. I'm gonna pick Urslan just to win by knockout. But stay tuned for the picks when I post them on my socials, and my socials are in the uh, comment description box below. I post all my winners the day of, hours before, so it could be a fight time decision. So, but for right now, give me Ivan Urslan to win by knockout. And to open up the main card for UFC Paris, we have Faris Ziam versus Matt Frevola. Steamroller for Vola. I'm kind of surprised about. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, kind of am. I'm kind of surprised about people backing Ziam in this, which I get it. He's going to be the taller fighter here, longer reach, the cleaner kickboxer, more technical striker here. But he doesn't have any power in his hands that like scares me about this. And I think Ziam really struggles with the takedowns, and the takedown defense is just not there for Ziam. So I'm gonna take Matt Frevola to win this fight. I think again, kind of like Ion Kutulaba in some ways, Matt Frevola kind of falls in loves with or he falls in love with his striking. He does want to stand and trade and not use his wrestling. I think he has great wrestling, but he doesn't use it. He puts himself in firefights. Yeah, it's exciting for the fans, but I would hope that you just kind of fight smarter. You are 34 years old. Um, again, you have had great highs in this career of yours. But I think if you just use some IQ and just fight smarter and use your wrestling a little bit more, you could probably fight your way into fighting to get into the top 15. Um, having that knockout win over Drew Dober, getting takedowns against Benoit Saint Denis, who's in the main event, but he got knocked out. So, but again, he's had these highlights. Very, very exciting fighter, Matt Vola is, but he needs to use this wrestling that he has in this fight. Um, But yeah, man, I'm gonna take the underdog here with Matt Frevola. I love the underdog, the plus money on Matt Frevola. I think he can just take that distance away of Ziam and make it just a chaotic fight on the feet, but also do enough up here to where he shoots for a takedown and Ziam's just still up here while Frevola is shooting for a takedown, gets to the hips, gets this fight to the ground, and yeah, man. I'm gonna take Matt Frevola here. I will look to see does Frevola have a submission game? Because I want to call for a submission here, but I don't know if he is like that on the ground. Um, let me just look at his uh, record real quick. So he does have three submissions, a lot of finishes on the feet with strikings in his last five. So he's a kill or be killed type fighter. Mafrovola is. Yeesh. So they're giving you an over 2.5 rounds, what I'm seeing right now. But I would definitely take the under here. I'm not a big fan of taking unders, but I think with how Mafrovola fights, I think he can definitely get this fight over with under 2.5 rounds. Um yeah, give me Frevola, man. By TKO. A little bit of a desperation finish there. Next fight we have Morgan Charrier versus Gabriel Miranda. I'm gonna take Morgan Charrier here. I'm just not that big of a fan of what I've seen from Gabriel Miranda. I think the striking is cool, but I think Morgan Charrier should just be there to outpoint him and outpoint him and just about everywhere in this fight. So I'm not a big fan of either of these guys, to be honest with you. So I mean, I wanted to fade the favorite here in Morgan, but I'll just take the I'll just take the favorite fighter here with Morgan. Um, I am a person who would love to see Morgan get paired up with a good fighter. Him being a big favorite, and me finding that fade with Morgan because I think his time is coming. So, and I think, and with me picking Morgan here, I think it shows. I think because I lean it because I've seen Morgan put up a fight against Chepe Mariscal. So in that in that he then they went to a decision in that fight. So it kind of speaks volumes to me that he can go to a decision here with a dog like Chepe. So yeah, give me Morgan here. Next fight, one of my favorite fights on this card in the welterweight division. We have Kevin Jousset versus Brian Battle. So Jousset is a fighter coming out of that city kickboxing gym. Um, he stands straight up. The posture, his head straight up. He holds his hand here, but his lead hand is very, very low. So that kind of worries me a bit because I mean he does do a good job sometimes of avoiding major damage, but he did get hit with some solid strikes in his last fight with Song Kanan. But it was like he ate him well. But again, I don't know how long he can keep that up with that fight style of having that lead hand so low. So I don't know. Well, with Brian Battle here, Brian Battle is another guy, kind of like Chris Duncan here. What I was saying at the beginning of this video with Chris Duncan, Brian Battle is another guy who gets better with each fight. Um, he's growing. I felt like he came into the tough season that he was in and he won. I felt like he came into that competition very heavy with the jujitsu and having great submissions, but the striking is coming along very very well too, and he's finishing his fights with striking. So um, this fight was really really hard for me to call because I want to lean the underdog in Kevin Trusett here, but I don't know. Brian Battle is he has that skill set too. I feel like he just has the overall skill set, and I feel like his last fight. I know it ended up in a no contest. I feel like with Angelusa. Let me see. Um, yeah. So his last fight, Brian Battle. The guy that Brian Battle fought in his last fight, Angelusa, ended up in a no contest, and that man was whooping Angelusa's ass, bro. Like Brian Battle was killing Angelusa. And I kind of want to lean that way just because he was making Angelusa look like that. Even though I shouldn't compare Angelusa with Kevin Jousset, just they're very different fighters and strikers. But I don't know, man. Something's really calling to me about the striking of Kevin Jousset. I like Kevin Jousset. I think I've just seen more and he's had more fights. Brian Battle has. So you know what? F it, man. I'm gonna go Kevin Jousset here to get an upset here. I think this is a huge fight for Kevin Jousset. I think this is a big fight for both fighters, but I think this is a bigger fight for Kevin Jousset. I like the kickboxing. I like the feints with the lead hand. He throws out a lot of feints. Maybe Brian Battle bites on those, and Kevin Jousset finds that opening that he can land. But I don't know. He just doesn't have that power to me either. So. Mm, You know what? I'm gonna lean Brian Battle. Again, this could be a fight where I switch, but you just have to look at the my final picks when I post my winners on my social medias. So I'm gonna go Brian Battle by submission. Let's go. I'm just gonna go Brian Battle submission. Oh, frick. That one was tough. Next fight we have William Gomis versus Joannes Britu. This fight is very, very easy for me to call. I think Britu is one of the most underrated featherweights on this roster. I don't even think Joannes Britu is ranked in the 145 division. Again, 145 division is stacked, but Joannes Britu is one of those killers, bro. He's gonna fight for your money, and if you're not, betting on him, if he's a favorite or underdog, it doesn't matter. This man fights for finishes, and I think this is a good style matchup for Joannes and Britu. Again, Gomis doesn't really have that skill set that really stands out to me to handle a pit bull like a Joannes and Britu. Um, Britu's a killer, bro, and I'm gonna take Britu here to get a finish. And it's hard not to. Like I've tried to fade Joannes Britu when he fought Jack Shore, and Britu made me eat my words. So I'm gonna take a chance here to hop on the Joannes Britu train. Not that I wasn't on it, but with him fighting Jack Shore, I just wasn't more of a fan of Jack Shore. But Britu is a dog, man, and I just can't fade a dog like this. So I think Britu's gonna get a finish here. Now, how he does it, I don't know, but I think Britu gets the finish here for sure. So give me Joannes and Britu to win by knockout. And in the co-main event, before I get to the co-main event, hopefully I do enough to earn your sub. Hit that sub button, like the video, or if you're listening to the audio version on Spotify, hopefully you go to the YouTube channel, Keep It a Buck Daily, and you sub to the channel, and then you hit that follow button on Spotify where you can follow the podcast and rate it, give it a 5 stars. Hopefully you have enjoyed this breakdown and enjoying the content on the channel and stuff like that. Thank you for just tuning in and giving me your time. But let's get into the co-main event. This is a very, very exciting fight in the middleweight division. This could be a title eliminator. The winner could find themselves in the next title fight at middleweight. We have Nasruddin Imavov versus Brandon Allen. So when this fight was announced, I was heavily on Nasruddin Imavov. I'm a fan of Imavov and his striking. I'm a fan. I know Imavov doesn't get the love. I feel like just hearing people talk about him and seeing things uh on Twitter, like I feel like people are not that high on Imavov, but I really am. I think he's a great kickboxer. Um, I think he's a great striker. I enjoy his fights, but this guy Brandon Allen, I feel like he's being disrespected a little bit in this fight. I get that the striking is there for Imavov, and he's coming off a finish against Jared Cannonier. Maybe an early stoppage in that fight. I don't know. You call it how you call it, but Imavov was kind of losing to Jared Cannonier. And again, that's not. I don't know how you take that and how you look at Imavov getting almost losing to Cannonier, but I don't know, man. I still think it's impressive to finish a Cannonier. But what I've seen from Brandon Allen and then the run that Brandon Allen is on, again, one of these fighters who had a bit of a rocky beginning to his UFC career really found the has really found his groove and now has pulled off one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. He has fought his way after losing the fight to Chris Curtis to getting a 7-fight win streak. Again, the names on that win streak maybe aren't impressive to you, but I think it's the way that he is finishing these people. finishing his opponents, finishing a Paul Craig by submission, finishing an Andre Muniz, who I was considering Muniz as like a threat in the middleweight division. I thought he was, but finishing Andre Muniz last year by submission, it speaks really, really high volumes to me. Um, Christian Jocko, Malkoon, Sam Alvey, yeah. But again, I think it's the way Brandon Allen is finishing fights that is kind of swaying me to the underdog here with Brandon Allen in this fight. Like, yeah, he may get outstruck in this fight, but I think Brandon Allen is smart enough to know that I need to close distance and find either clinch or clinch and just work my way around to submitting Imavov here. Um, so Imavov is coming off a 2-fight win streak. He had a no contest against Chris Curtis, and his last loss was against Sean Strickland, where he got outstruck. Sean Strickland just had his way in that fight. Um, but then Imavov having wins against Joaquin Buckley, Edmund Shabazian, Ian Heinrich, like yeah, the names are there. Like the names are cool. But again, I think it's the way that Brandon Allen is finishing his opponents, finishing these grapplers by submission, which is more and more impressive to me. Um, I'm gonna go Brandon Allen here. I'm gonna go the underdog. I'm gonna take a shot on the underdog here. I love the confidence that Brandon Allen is fighting with right now. Again, Brandon Allen needs to break, needs to take away that distance away from um Imavov and just find the clinch, get the clinch, and then just work his grappling from the stand up position. I don't know, but do what all he can to get this fight to the ground and get his hands on Imavov to lock up a submission. I'm gonna take Brendan Allen, the underdog here, by submission, and yeah, man, especially with this fight being 15 minutes, I think we see a bit more aggressive Brendan Allen here, chasing a finish, and I think Imavov kind of I think he does well. I think Imavov does well early fighting off the grappling and the submission attempts, but I think with time in the second round and the third round, I think Imavov just kind of gets tired. Brendan Allen finds a submission and he locks it up, bro. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, let's get to the main event, man. Renato Moicano versus Benoit Saint-Denis going down in the main event. Uh It's crazy that Moicano is 35 years old. I thought he was a lot younger than that. Um, so Benoit Saint Denis is coming off his loss against Dustin Poirier a few months ago, and in that fight, Benoit Saint Denis did have staph infection. So he emptied out his cardio tank in that first round. Couldn't get the finish against Dustin. And then Dustin comes back in the second round and knocks Benoit Saint Denis out. So and it doesn't sit well with me with Moicano, being chinned and having this chin of where, yeah, he is getting chinned in his fights and he's getting knocked down and he's having to battle back from adversity. And I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, which is how much of a killer that Benoit Saint Denis is. Um, Moicano's coming off a crazy win against Jalen Turner, where Turner had Benoit Saint Denis, or not Saint Denis, Jalen Turner had Moicano almost finished. Um, Jalen Turner tried to have a walk off KO, but the refs didn't stop it, and then Moicano got up and fought back, and then he finished Jalen Turner by knockout in the next round. Um, Beating a Drew Dober by unanimous decision, beating a Brad Riddell by submission. That doesn't really surprise me at all. I don't know, man. I just liked all the signs going to Benoit Saint Denis, and I think the only way for Moicano to win this fight is to hopefully catch Benoit Saint-Denis coming in, Moicano getting a takedown and winning by submission on the ground. But I'm gonna take Benoit Saint-Denis by knockout. I think he's just that. I think he's looking to come back to revenge that loss that he had in his last fight, and I think the God of War looks for looks great in this fight, and I think this style matchup, the way Moicano just has been chinned and knocked down in previous fights, like it doesn't sit well with me in this fight. So give me just the pit bull, the animal, the God of War to win this fight by knockout. I just feel better about it. I think Moicano, he's very slick on the ground. He could look to lock up a submission here, but I don't know, man. I'm gonna take Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm gonna take the God of War, and that's that, man. Um, so that's my breakdown for UFC Paris going down this weekend, and I'm gonna just go through my picks again. Uh, so to start from the bottom and work my way to the main event, we have Chris Duncan, underdog number one. We have Jacqueline Cavalcanti. We have Daniel Barres, underdog number two. We have Eileen Perez. We have Taylor Lapilus. We have Ludovic Klein. We have Umar Sy. We have Ivan Erslan. We have Matt Frivola, underdog number three. We have Morgan Charrier. We have Brian Battle. Again, that thing could change. I'm taking Joanson Britu. I'm taking Brendan Allen in the co-main event. Underdog number four. And then I'm gonna end with Benoit Saint Denis. Hopefully, I have done enough to earn your sub with this breakdown. Like the video, interact in the comment section about your picks for this fight card. Again, if you're listening to this on Spotify, hopefully you hit that follow button on the podcast, and hopefully you just follow more of the content. I do try to upload, my breakdowns for these fight cards. Sometimes I do miss the weeks, but I am trying to upload more MMA content. But if you are watching on YouTube, my socials are down in the description box. Hopefully, you can follow me. I do drop my picks hours before. Um, I post all my picks hours before on my Instagram and my Twitter, so go follow those pages. And then, yeah, guys, hopefully I bounce back in a big way with my picks this week. And I'll see you guys on the next breakdown. Have a good one.